Bunnicula's pals, Harold, Chester, and Howe in Creepy Crawly Birthday by James Howe. Illustrated by Leslie Morrill. A note to the reader. The story you are about to read is told by a dog, but Harold is no ordinary dog. He has written other books about his family, the Monroes, and about his friends, Chester, a cat, Howie, a dachshund puppy, and Bunnicula, a most unusual rabbit. Harold sent this story to me, along with a note that read, "Birthday parties are usually a lot of fun, even for us pets. There are refreshments and games and surprises, but at today's last birthday party, Chester, Howie, and I got one surprise too many. We were having a great time when all of a sudden we found ourselves alone in the basement and, well, I'll let you find out for yourself what happened next. All I can tell you is that Toby didn't have just a happy birthday. He had a creepy, crawly, slithery, slimy, and hoppy birthday, too." I couldn't help wondering what Harold meant. By the time I found out, I'd had almost as much fun as if I'd gone to Toby's party myself. And I'd learned something, too. The next time I'm invited to a birthday party, before I say yes, I'm going to find out who else, or what else, is going to be there. The Editor. Toby's birthday was here at last. I had been waiting for weeks. "Toby has the best birthday parties," I said to Chester. "Remember last year?" Chester licked his whiskers. "Mrs. Monroe left a gallon of ice cream out on the kitchen table," he said dreamily. "If we hadn't come along," said Howie, "that ice cream could have melted all over the place and made a terrible mess." We all glanced toward the kitchen door, but decided it was too early for ice cream. So we joined the party instead. I soon noticed that Toby was missing and went to investigate, and that's when I heard the words that started all the trouble. "I know you're eager to show everyone your special birthday present," Mrs. Monroe was saying to Toby. "How about right before the cake?" "Great," Toby said, "but remember, it's a secret. I don't even want Harold and Chester and Howie to know." "My lips are sealed," Mrs. Monroe said. "Now, what do you say we get back to our guests?" I scampered out of the way before the door opened, and they caught me listening. "Chester! Howie!" I cried. "Toby has a special birthday present, and he's keeping it secret, even from us." "But Toby doesn't keep secrets from us," Howie said. Chester raised an eyebrow. "Well, I just happen to know where all of Toby's presents are." "What are we waiting for?" Howie yipped. "Let's go!" Chester led the way to Mrs. Monroe's study. "How do we know which one is the special present?" I wondered aloud. "And why doesn't Toby want us to know about it?" Howie asked. "Well," said Chester, "there's only one way to find out the answer to both of your questions." "Nothing suspicious here," I said. "I haven't found anything either," said Howie. Chester didn't say a word, but I noticed that his tail was twitching as he peered into the darkened corner of the room. "What are those?" he asked in a low voice. "Suitcases," I said. "Could they be Toby's special present? What would an 8-year-old need with 7 suitcases?" "Ah, but those are no ordinary suitcases," said Chester. I groaned. Chester's imagination gets the better of him sometimes. I mean, he honestly believes the family's pet rabbit, Bunnicula, is a vampire. "Let me guess," I said. "Those are really aliens in disguise, right? Suitcases from outer space, unidentified flying overnight bags." I was beginning to enjoy myself when one of the suitcases started to inch its way toward us. "Living luggage!" Howie cried. "Precisely," said Chester. "Don't you see? Don't you smell, at least? There are animals inside those cases." It was then that I noticed the holes in the sides and the eyes staring out of them. There were animals in there. What were animals doing in suitcases in Mr. Monroe's study? "Oh no!" someone cried. I looked up. It was Toby's brother, Pete. "You guys are not supposed to be in this room! Mom!" Mrs. Monroe came running. "Oh dear," she said when she saw us. I'm sorry, fellas, but you can't be in here. Pete, will you take care of them, please? The next thing I knew, we were in the cellar. Look, Howie gasped. There, on Mr. Monroe's workbench, was Bunnicula, sound asleep in his cage. What's he doing here? Howie asked. Bunnicula's cage is always kept in the living room. Chester's eyes narrowed to little slits. Toby didn't want us to know about his special birthday present, he murmured. Meanwhile, there are 7 strange animals in Mr. Monroe's study, and we're in the basement. Does any of this suggest anything, Harold? Not really, I said. I hate it when Chester asks me to think. Pets! Chester shouted. The Monroes are giving Toby 7 new pets for his birthday. But why would he do that? Howie whimpered. Aren't we enough? Chester snorted. Apparently not, he said. Well, I won't stand for it. Me either, I said. Me either, said Howie, and he promptly sat down. Follow me, Chester ordered. Luckily for us, the cellar door wasn't locked, and there was no one in the kitchen. We moved swiftly and quietly down the back hall, past the living room, where the party was going full blast, to the door of the study. What's your plan? I whispered to Chester. We're going to let them loose. What? They're strange animals in a strange place, Chester explained. Before you know it, they'll be running around, acting crazy. All we have to do is sit quietly on the sidelines. Perfect examples of perfect pets. I like your thinking, I told Chester. I pushed the door open, walked over to the suitcases, and quickly worked the latches loose. Fortunately, they were old and easy to budge. Out! Out! I woofed, but no one moved. The suitcases were so still, I began to wonder if Chester had only imagined they were filled with animals. But there was that peculiar odor. And then one of the suitcases started to wiggle and shake, and then another, and out they came. Howie went nuts immediately. I gave it a good 6 seconds before losing my cool. Let me out of here! I barked. Chester and I got tangled in each other's legs as we dashed out the door and into the living room, where Howie had already had an encounter with Toby's birthday cake. Hey, watch it! Mom, how did they get in here? They're ruining my party! Well, Chester, I said, I think we've blown it as perfect pets. No sooner had Mrs. Monroe grabbed Howie than there was a piercing scream. Snakes! Somebody was shouting. Rats! Cried someone else. Creepy crawlies everywhere! What kind of party is this? There was a stampede to the door, but a man blocked the way. Mrs. Monroe, how did all my animals get loose? The man asked. I'm so sorry, Mr. Who, said Mrs. Monroe. We'll find them all, won't we, boys and girls? Chester, Howie, and I were rather rudely escorted out the door as the birthday party turned into a search party. There at the curb sat a van. I read aloud the sign on its side. Who's Zoo? Who's who? Said Howie. Well, I'm Howie, and you're... I ignored Howie and went on reading. Unusual animals for all occasions. Birthday parties my specialty. I turned to Chester. Nice going, I said. Chester looked up at the sky. Looks like we might be in for a little rain, he commented. We sneaked back into the house to watch Mr. Who's show. Notice how the hedgehog rolls up into a little ball when you hold him, Mr. Who said as he handed the little fellow to Toby. Wow, Toby said, he feels like a hairbrush. Who would like to touch the iguana? Mr. Who asked. This is the weirdest birthday entertainment I ever saw, Chester whispered. What happened to clowns? I think it's interesting, I told Chester. Me too, said Howie. Pretty soon, Mr. Who had all his animals out of their suitcases again. But, if my figuring was right, there should have been 7 animals altogether. I counted only 6. One was missing. I'm sure it will turn up sooner or later, Mrs. Monroe was saying to Mr. Howe as she let us join the party again. The animals were back in their cases. I'm sorry, you guys, Toby said to us. I should have told you before. Mr. Howe has a rule. No pets in the same room with his animals. I guess you never know when a boa constrictor is going to want a little between meals snack. I looked into Toby's eyes to see if he was joking. If the animals aren't Toby's special present, Howie whispered, what is? Toby must have been reading Howie's mind. Come on, follow me, he said to us. I have a surprise for you. It's a clubhouse, Toby shouted. Isn't it great? So this was Toby's special birthday present. Look, it's even got special places for us, I said to Howie and Chester. That must have been why Toby was keeping it secret. He wanted to surprise us. I can't believe we ever thought he would want any other pets. Yeah, said Howie. Whose idea was that anyway? Chester didn't answer. He was busy licking his tail, which is a cat's way of trying to act cool when he knows he's made a total fool of himself. Back inside, we all sang happy birthday to Toby. Mr. Howe had gone on to another party. He asked the Monroes to call him as soon as they spotted his missing animal. They promised they would. Toby's party was so much fun. I had the feeling the missing animal might have been hiding from Mr. Howe. Maybe, I told Chester, he just wanted to hang around for a while and have some fun too. Chester looked at me and shook his head. Really, Harold, he said, that's the battiest thing I ever heard. That was Creepy Crawly Birthday by James Howe, illustrated by Leslie Morrill.